Hey, what's going on YouTube? Or Storm here, coming at you guys with another discussion video today. So today I wanted to go over something that has kind of been on my mind for quite some time, which is Yu-Gi-Oh players say a lot of really dumb things, and this is one of the topics I wanted to cover today because it's something that's been on my mind, and I kind of wanted to go over a few things that are just boggled my mind that some things people, Yu-Gi-Oh players in general, say some really dumb things. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about some of those things. I'm going to have 8 of them total. I'm not going to be on camera today. I felt like since I did do a little bit of scripting for this video, I felt like it was a little bit easier just to put the background and, from my intro and just go from there. I did not include the intro in this video either because I just wanted to get to the main topic at hand so you guys can enjoy. So, alright, so the main topic of this video is again translating some of the things Yu-Gi-Oh players say, some of the dumb things they say, and kind of understanding why they say them. So, because again, like the theme of this channel is why uncommon sense is still a thing. So we want to kind of analyze this a little bit deeper than just being a dick about it. So anyway, let's begin. So the first thing is my deck works for me. The translation I have for this one is that I'd rather not make changes and ignore everything you say. This is typically and every time someone posts a deck list in a Facebook group, the first thing, like a great example is like say you're playing like an OTK deck with a deck that's designed more to control something like I don't know Fluffles and Dark Rolls, and I explain why it doesn't. I'm like, hey, you're playing two different contradicting strategies. Dark Rolls are a very control oriented deck, and you're playing with Fluffles, which are very aggro-based OTK deck. The decks don't really contribute much to each other. They'll say things like, "Oh, this deck works for me" is a typical defense when someone does not want to actually change their deck. Granted, we're all guilty of saying this at some point. I've said this about my DDD list. Is like people like, "Oh, why are you playing Trade In? Why are you playing Armageddon?" The fact is, like, I understand I do have the pot of desires now, but I would say that the trade-in build ran fine. You can play the deck without desires, but if you're going to go to a big tournament, you need to have the desires because it gets you that +1, gets you that much further into your deck. 2 more cards to work with is always nice. So, first thing is my deck works for me. And the second thing we're going to go to today is my deck isn't the same cookie cutter deck. Translation is, rather than ignoring the objective good ratios that have been found and tested and proven to work, I would ignore that and play random tech cards in a deck that doesn't work. This is very common in DDDs because DDDs are a very rigid deck in terms of design. You don't mess with the ratios. One thing I remember when I watched a 10 She's video on with DDDs, I noticed one thing she said is that DDDs are very if you try to play it anything other than 3 ofs, it tends to mess with the ratios and it's just not as consistent. And a lot of people with DDDs will just play random techs in the deck for no apparent reason, and I've never really understood this like, granted I don't understand it if not like wanting to play like a deck and play it a little differently to be different, but it's the quintessential like hipster mentality where you just want to play something different to be different. There's no reason really why it really makes sense, to be honest. So number 2 is my deck isn't the same cookie cutter deck. Number 3 is why I don't understand why people think insert card here is good. Translation: rather than understanding why this card is good, I just ignore objectively good facts and be stubborn. Pot of Desires is definitely the card that I feel like has this card description fits perfectly simply because Pot of Desires, while I've never seen so much disagreement on a single Yu-Gi-Oh card in general, because I remember a guy in my locals that said this. I've seen people tell me I'm bad for even suggesting playing it. It's just a bad card. People all over groups get triggered for me saying that it's that good, it's that important in some decks, and it's not for your average player. Will say, well, it's good, but you don't want to play it in every deck. You might not want to play it in Magicians, for example, because you have 1 Wisdom Eye, 1 Joker, 1 Pendulum Call, 1 Luster Pendulum, all these 1-ofs in the deck because of the ban list. So you might not want to play Pot of Desires in a deck like that. You wouldn't want to play it in Zoo because you have your Rat Piers and you don't want to banish them. This isn't the only card. There are cards like there's so many different cards that you can fall on this list. Like a Hero Lives, people would say it's not good because you're paying half your life points, but if you're getting Shadow Mist from the deck, you don't care necessarily about life points. There's just in Dimensional Barrier, people would say, well, why would I play Dimensional Barrier? I can just play Grizel Prison because I play a fusion or ritual deck. This is something that's pretty common, but a lot of players just are stubborn and they don't want to go and test the card. This is like something I always advocate to newer players who are playing a deck. I say, please go test the card, see if it works. Because whether it's DevPro, whether it's printing off proxies, you can test cards to see if they work for you. Not everything is going to work for everyone, but I definitely think people should be able to acknowledge objectively good cards. And then number 4 is, here is my insert weird random deck list together. So this tends to common, like a lot of people tend to, the translation for this one is, rather than testing this deck and see if it works, I'm just going to ignore everything you say and just throw it together and see, and just, it works. A lot of times there's a term for this is typically called confirmation bias. What this means is that when someone posts a deck list to a group, they expect to see all positive feedback rather than people, if anyone says a list doesn't work, they start calling you a meta sheep or whatever, and when in reality you're just explaining that this is the reason why it doesn't work. And now my always thing is, I explain why something doesn't work. I say, please test it, and and I'm not trying to say it's necessarily automatically bad. I'm just saying that you need to test something before you automatically say, oh, this works. Oftentimes, some of my decks will have months of planning and play testing put in between like DDDs and Dino Pals, getting those decks ready. I spent months beforehand getting them, play testing them, and on Yugioh Pro and getting them ready. And I feel like a lot of times people would just want their deck to be showered upon for how good it is, rather than acknowledging the flaws it might have. So number 4 is, here's my deck. Here's my insert deck here, and here. And the number 5 is going to be, where is your name and creds? And this one is just something that always boggles me. And the translation for this one is, I top 48 at a regional a couple years ago. My opinion matters more than yours. This typically refers to a particular individual who tends to flood Facebook groups with memes and basically shits on anyone who says that just because he has one top several years ago, he thinks he's bigger and better than you. I've never really understood this kind of mindset, because especially if top 48ing a regional is nothing major. It means you got your Nats qualifier. It doesn't mean you don't win a Mats. You just got your Nats qualifier. That's literally all you get for top 48ing a regional. And I think the whole name and creds concept, because you need to you have a name in order to have a relevant opinion. We all have opinions. One opinion is not necessarily more relevant than the others. And just because you topped a regional doesn't give you the right to spew memes all over a Facebook page and tell people to kill themselves. Tell people to kill themselves slowly and ask them why they haven't died yet. So number 5 is, where is your name and creds? Number 6, now this was something that is kind of off of what we were saying earlier, but this is kind of something similar. This is kind of the opposite of something meta players normally would say, which is, you're bad for not playing insert card here. And the translation for this one is, rather than looking at why this deck is designed the way it is, I just rather say you're bad for not net decking the top tier lists. This typically refers to my Metal Foe list. Now, my Metal Foes list, granted, I feel like I should have won a lot more. I feel like I wasn't as prepared in terms of playtesting as I was for Herald, the regional before, but I did advance. 8 rounds in is not bad for someone like me who typically tends to scrub out by round 5 or 6. And I felt like it was while I felt like it wasn't quite as consistent as Herald, I felt like it was one of my best, closest thing. And the thing is, it was just because I played Gofu and not the Klee engine, it was ridiculed. People said my list was bad, blah, 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 blah. And I even had people say that my list, there's no innovation in this list, which is something I'm going to get to later. People just want to, or I kind of got to this earlier with the cookie cutter thing, is that people just want to see, just because you're playing a standard list, apparently you shouldn't share a list at all. There's room for innovation, but certain decks, are designed the way they are for a reason. And granted, we all have that one card that we play in a deck, despite it not being the best. There's always that one card that all of us play. We're stubborn about it, and there's certain cards we don't play. I don't like the Klee engine because I just don't like Klees in general, and I just think that I don't like engines that are just designed to bring out Cyber Dragon Infinity. So, and same thing goes for cards like Gale Dogra. I just don't think Herald needs a card like Gale Dogra when the deck is already very, very consistent. I've tested the deck, and it's only between regionals and locals, I had one brick in like 30 games, so I feel like that's a pretty solid ratio in terms of bricking or not. So number 6 is you're bad for not playing X card in that deck. So this is number 7. This is the one that always bothers me the most, which is X card is degenerate or cancer. And the translation for this one is I don't have more than 2 words to describe something I don't like. So I'd rather compare a children's card game to an infectious disease. And this is very common. The word cancer for Yu-Gi-Oh players has become basically like literally, I mean, it's become usage in so many things. On the Dueling Book Discord, I had a guy say, not being able to check the graveyard as a spectator is cancer. But granted, Yu-Gi-Oh players can barely be bothered to read all the text on my Abyss Ragnarok, so why should I expect people to be able to read have a thesaurus of more than 2 words to describe something they don't like? I don't understand why, I understand, a word gets used, becomes popular, everyone uses it, and I can't really stop them from doing so, but I do think that at the same time, I think that Yu-Gi-Oh players can be better than this. It's not like all of us haven't been through a college education, let's be real. So number 7 is X card is degenerate or cancer, and the last one is number 8. I don't understand why insert card here is so damn expensive. I'm not paying that much for paper or / cardboard. Cardboard is typically what people refer to. The translation for this one is, even though I buy things with paper, aka money, paying up is an option, so I'd rather just complain and whine about and there's I see this all the time with people saying in the DDD group, I see this all the time. People are saying, okay, I don't have Pot of Desires, I don't have Crystal Wing, I don't have Omega, I don't have Barrier, what should I play instead? My response typically is, you can play X, Y, and Z card, but bear in mind it's not going to be nearly as good. And we don't expect that. But a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh players just want, and the thing is, this refers to a term in economics that's called willingness to pay. And I'm going to probably have a whole video separate on this whole topic because I feel like it's something that you guys would probably like to learn about. And like learn how to make money and save money in Yu-Gi-Oh. I feel like that's a whole separate video. But the term willingness to pay, you can typically look at 4 Yu-Gi-Oh players and say, okay, say there's a Cyframe Lord Omega, and one guy might want to play 25 for it. The other guy might play 30. Next guy might play 40. Last guy might be willing to pay 50 for the card. The fact is, you probably might be that guy who values it at 25. But the thing is, that other guy values it at 50. Things hold value for a reason. Things don't move themselves on our card market. I understand buyouts happen, but cards have value for a reason. If a card has stayed, Twin Twisters is a great example. Twin Twisters has been a pretty solid $11, $12 card almost since the day it came out. And the reason is it's a good card. Objectively good cards stay expensive. It's always the way it is. Yes, they get reprinted and drop in price, and the market moves like crazy, but there will always be certain cards like Omega, and for a great example of a card that's never really going to be cheap unless it's completely banned. And there will always be cards in this game that hold value, because if that's not the case, that means people are not buying the product, and that means Konami's not selling, and that means our game is not going to function. Cards need to hold value in order for... So number 8 comes into... I don't understand why insert card here is so expensive. I'm not paying that much for cardboard. So anyway, that about comes to the end of the video, guys. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments section down below. Have you ran into anyone saying these stupid things? Is there anything you think I might have left off my list? Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. And as always, I thank you guys for watching. This is Aurastorm signing out.